Hey everybody, this is Karen Sullivan with lifehealthmore.net, and I am doing a series for the month of March. Welcome if this is the first time you've ever seen me, but I know that on my YouTube page I'm also posting these live streams for Facebook, and I'm talking about the 8 steps for holistic wellness. 2018 promises to be a fantastic year for fitness and health, and I have been working with my clients trying to get them to have a whole well-rounded approach to dealing with all the little things that come up in life and fitness. It's not just diet and exercise, it's way more than diet and exercise. So if you have not had a chance to catch the initial show, that was a very short introduction last week, that we were talking about exercise, which I am a fitness instructor, so I know a little bit about that. And this week we are talking about habits. We all have them. We really do. They're those idiosyncrasies that sometimes are good and sometimes are bad. Next week, and these are every Mondays and every Thursday at 2 o'clock is when I do these shows live. And of course, I can't always promise that I'm going to get back to you immediately or talk about your comment. I've got my screen so that I can see the comments as they come in and hopefully be able to answer your questions. But you can always, in replay, write your questions, send them to me in a private message, or send them right comments on this event, okay? So that way I can get back to you about the questions, because I cannot possibly cover all of the questions that people might have. So that said, let's move on to about habits. This is wellness ingredient number 2, which is habits. And there are some things that are good that we do, and there's some things that are not so great, and there are some good things that we maybe perhaps ought to integrate into our lives, okay? So the thing to realize about these habits that are probably not real healthy or wholesome, or maybe they take up too much time. For example, if you spend a whole lot of time watching television, you may not have the time to take care of mundane things like going to the grocery store or paying the bills or going outside and talking to your neighbors, working in the yard, getting the grass cut, because you're sort of drawn into the storyline of something you're watching. Okay, not that it's a bad thing, but we'll talk about that in a little bit too. But also there are habits like smoking, drinking, eating the things that do not suit well with you, especially if you're trying to lose weight and get in shape. And then that can happen to derail you completely. Okay, so the thing about it is, when we have these habits that are, let's talk first about the bad habits, okay? The things that you want to break because, let's say you haven't gone to the gym in forever, and finding excuses, that's even a habit. That's a pattern that we do, okay? And when that happens, you have to take a look at it and you recognize, and that's where everything is about mindfulness. And first, let's start with motivation. I have to backtrack a little bit, forget what I was just saying, and let's talk about your motivation. That is key to helping you decide whether you want to give up perhaps drinking soda or begin drinking more water. You have to find your motivation, okay? So what you do is a process of asking yourself, well, why do I feel like I need to change this habit? Why? Well, because it's better for me. Well, why? Big deal. And you just keep asking yourself that question over and over. This is not anything that you would share with anyone. It's one of those situations where, have you ever had a dream that was really powerful and fun and neat and felt super great, and regardless of what the subject matter was, you were left with this really cool feeling and it was all really great. And then when you start to tell somebody, those images kind of wisp away. They're kind of like smoke, and they just disappear, and you can't quite certainly you can't get the emotion into the words to describe, especially since it's something that strikes a chord in your heart, in your feelings that you have. And so as you begin to tell this really cool dream, it sounds kind of stupid, and you stop, and then you've lost that. And that was yours. That was a gift that came to you, whether it's from your subconscious mind or whatever, whatever people believe that dreams come from. It's gone, and you lost that impetus. Now, you don't want to do that when you're finding your own personal motivation. You're finding your own personal why. You want to have that information, that reason for getting up and going to the gym, for drinking all the water that you're supposed to, for giving up some of the things that you were eating or drinking that may not be agreeing with you. And if you don't have a reason that strikes at your heart's desire, you're not going to stay with it. You're never going to find a way to overcome whatever the habit is, whether it's beginning a habit or ending a bad habit. Okay? So motivation is key. And then it's mindfulness, that constantly being vigilant about keeping yourself on top of your game so that you know your pattern. You know what you're doing. You recognize what you're doing. We are so often, I am totally responsible. Totally, this is my thing. I am on autopilot so often that I gather up things around me, and I'm going upstairs to put them away, and I put them away, and I come downstairs, and I'll think, oh, wait a minute, did I put, and I can't remember, because I did it in one swell swoop, and I thought not of what I was doing when I was doing it, but I thought of the next thing I was going to do. And I've even had with when I've been teaching an exercise class, because I'm a fitness instructor, and I will be teaching, and in my brain I'm going ahead, and here's this elaborate, I'm analyzing what parts of the body I have worked, of my students, and what I need to do next to balance it out. I assess what's going on in the faces of the people and how it looks like they feel. So my mind is not, it's present, but sometimes it's jumped ahead a little bit. And so that's what we do as human beings. That's, the brain loves to work. And in, let's see, which one of these? The next one that it's a way down the road here. We're going to talk about, I don't know where it is we're going to talk about, but we are going to talk about the brain and how the brain works and everything. That's not part of our discussion today, but it is ever prevalent, because the brain runs the operation. It is the computer that runs everything on an unconscious, subconscious level that's constant, that keeps our heart's going and our lungs working and our breathing and our, and it keeps life going. And then there's the other parts that kind of are telling you a story and working through history and memories and routines and that kind of stuff. And that's what happens to us and why we lose track. Okay. So if we have bad habits, one of the best ways for breaking them. Now, I know that there are a lot of psychiatrists, psychologists out there that have all kinds of help and guidance for how to break habits, poor habits. Well, and I would say from the things that I have read, from my personal experiences, I would say that I'm going to boil it down into first knowing why you want to break the habit, what it is that you want to do that is very important to you. And it's deeper than I just want to lose weight. But let's use that for right now, just for the sake of this example. Okay. You know that you want to lose weight. Okay. That's first and foremost. So that's your motivation, and it's going to keep you going. Let's say that your habit that you're trying to break is smoking cigarettes, and you smoke kind of a lot, and it's causing you to have a little respiratory problems, and you can't really walk and exercise, and you feel sort of lethargic. So you have, the motivation is that you're going to lose this weight, and you've got some physical problems that you're going to lose this thing. Well, here you go. You've got it. So what do? You stop smoking. And it creates a whole bunch of problems, and your mind is going, and your physiological issue of, trying to get off that nicotine is there. So what are you going to do? Well, the best way to do it is to have another habit to replace for that. So it's not going to be smoking something else, certainly, because it's the heart and lungs that you're concerned about. So design another one, and it would probably be, how about walking? Let's say that that's going to be the new thing. So you think about if you're building, now no carpenter would ever do this, and my gracious, no man who has built anything would do this. But you heard the analogy of, if you have a nail driven in, and the nail is the smoking, and that nail is in this board, and that's the habit, and it's hard to pull that nail out, because let's say the head's sunken in, so it's hard to get it out. So what you do is you get a new nail, a new habit, and you put it in, and you drive that new nail in, and it's going to pop the old habit out the back, and it'll be gone. It will not be in the board. Okay, so this new habit that you're going to do, and for our example here, we're talking about, the illustration is, let's go ahead and we're going to start walking. And every time you feel like that you want to have a cigarette, you're going to go out and go for a walk. Some people substitute instead chewing gum. Or I remember my father, every time he was trying to stop smoking, he would get candy, hard candy. And the really horrible thing about it was, he was a diabetic. So that didn't work. You know how that goes. But that was one thing he was doing, was replacing one habit for another. So when you're trying to do that, you're going to replace and give yourself something else to do. Now, the problem with that is this, that sometimes you're just replacing a habit for another one. And if you haven't chosen a good one, it's not so great. So I feel that the analysis of the why you want to stop smoking is really, really the paramount to being successful in changing it. So if you want to stop smoking, think about all the lung disease. If anybody in your family has died from lung cancer. And I'll tell you something, even though my father did not die from lung cancer, I know that he smoked most of his life. All of my life, he was a smoker. And that I believe that the cancer is introduced into the body, and it landed in his pancreas. It doesn't have to be only in the lungs when you're smoking. So when you think about a habit that you have, think about the ramifications all the way out. Follow the cookie crumbs, so to speak, and see what's the seriousness of it and why you would want to stop it. The same thing goes with certain kinds of foods, whether or not you're a diabetic, or whether you are just trying to stop drinking. The way that Alcoholics Anonymous, which is a very, very good program, what they do is they have someone that works with you, that is your sponsor. And that's the premise from which I kind of built my coaching, is that I go through and work with people in the same sort of way that a sponsor works with somebody with AA who is working with the alcohol problem. My approach with the one-on-one coaching is more well-rounded. It's more than just breaking a habit. It's about building new ones and about striving to get the body as healthy as possible. But that will give you an explanation of what my coaching is. And so if you have that habit and you know that you really have a good reason for it, then the mindfulness part of it is really important, with staying vigilant and staying on top of it. That's where coaching comes in handy. Also on my website, lifehealthmore.net, you can sign up for the emails just by opting in and giving me your address and your telephone number, not your telephone number, and your email address and your name, your telephone. I'm going to give you a call. No. Anyway, so having that, then I will be able to send you tutorials that I have that are not available on YouTube or Facebook. They're things that I've done just for the people who opt in to decide they want to be a part of this coaching program. Okay. And that vigilance and having somebody that's accountable, that you're accountable to all the time, then that will help you to break a habit. Okay. So let's talk about building new habits, good habits. Okay. You would think it's easier. It's truly not. It's not any easier than the difference between somebody who's trying to lose weight or someone who's trying to gain weight. They all have their own sets of issues. Okay. So with building a new habit, a good habit, you have to very carefully decide what it is you're going to go for. Okay. An easy one is to say water. I want to start drinking more water. I know that, or you all should realize that water is so important in the body, and drinking it is great. And what do you imagine is the number one complaint that people say to me when I tell them they need to drink more water? Yeah, you got it. Then that means they have to go to the bathroom. Well, that's what we're supposed to do. But in the meantime, the water, it gets used in the body, and we can't, if you don't have enough water in your body, if you're dehydrated, your brain can't work. Your brain needs water. It needs water, it needs air, it's got the circulation in the blood, which brings the air in when you're doing the nice deep breathing. But absolutely, we're made up of water, and our cells need it, and our body really needs it. So it's important to have it. So the same thing goes for building a new habit. Also, one at a time, guys. One at a time. Choose one thing that you want to begin to do that will make life better for you, that will help you to reach your goals, that will make you feel better. And so it's, give up a bad thing, pick up a good thing. Sometimes they can sort of meld together. So if I'm going to start drinking more water, then my bad habit might be, well, I'm going to stop drinking as much soda pop. Okay. And so they work together, and it's really one thing because it has to do with what you're drinking. Okay. So I think that, I pretty much covered all of the choices and all of the information here really very carefully. When you're choosing which habit to take care of, you want to examine which habit is keeping you from being successful with your health and fitness plan. What is it that you're doing that is keeping you from meeting your goals? And that's a question only you can answer. And, I think that you'll do a great job with analyzing just one step at a time, always finding that motivation, your why you want to do it. Why is it so important to you? Sometimes people don't even care if it means I'm going to live longer. Sometimes the reasons are because I want to dance at my grandson's wedding. And that's huge. So those things that you want, and remember them, and vigilantly every day be mindful of what they are and the life that there is around you. Remember, I want you to be the best version of yourself possible. 2018 is phenomenal. Great year. I can feel it in my bones that great things are happening for people, and I'd like to help you. lifehealthmore.net is the place where you can go to get on board for this email list and get the training and the tutorials that I have there. Design them just for you. Take care and have a great day.